Welcome to the Small Business Bootcamp, the show that gives lifetime solutions for your business and business solutions for your lifetime. I'm Corey Tucker, your host. Today, we're talking about pricing adjustments with Megan and Jen. How you guys doing today?
I'm doing great.
Great. Glad to be here.
It's good to be here, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So this is the first question that I'm going to ask you guys. So if you could become an expert at anything immediately, what would it be?
I had a minute to think about it because I saw the question in the notes. So I can't stop thinking that I wish I was an expert at time management. I am not. And I know that it would make my life so much easier. So if I could snap my fingers and be an expert at time management, I have I think a little streak of some ADD. I get caught off on different things. And, we all have a lot of responsibilities. And when I'm looking at the different sectors of what I'm responsible for, I need to be managing my time. And so if I could be an expert at that, it would drastically change my life. So if I could be an expert at it today, I would snap my fingers and do it. I know.
Share.
I know.
Please share. I think for me, it would be, you talk about ADD. I think it gets worse as you get older. I would like to be an expert in reading and listening comprehension. You joke at me, laugh at me because I take notes. That's how I retain the information. But sometimes when in case I haven't mentioned, I'm a reader now, but I have to reread passages.
She's a reader.
I'm a reader.
You want to give book recommendations to Jen? Send them our way.
That's
She's
right.
a reader.
I'm a reader. Now, sometimes I fall into Megan's category where I'm reading multiple books at a time, not quite to completion, but reading comprehension would be my number one. I wish I was an expert at that.
You read something and then it's like, what did I just read?
And
you got to go back and do it again.
Because I'm thinking about
Other
things like, pricing adjustments while I'm reading. So a little distracted sometimes.
I like that. Those are good. Mine's pretty simple. I actually have two. One is personal and one's business. The first one is I would love to be an expert at playing guitar. That would be so cool.
You could just snap your fingers. That'd be great.
But you have to practice every day, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the things you have to devote time and energy to. And then the second one is being able to take complex ideas and communicate them effectively to all walks of life. I would love to be able to learn how to do that more effectively.
Be an expert.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a good one.
All right. So we're going to jump right in. This is a big topic for us. And I think a good place to start is probably terminology and timing.
Sure. So I wanted to start here just to kind of lay a little bit of foundation for verbiage that I think Jen and I will use throughout the podcast. If you know Jeff, you know that he has a vast lexicon and he is very specific about words that are used in certain situations. Give you an example. Outside of pricing, we use a lot of the software that we use has the words policy. And Jeff has always been, he hates policies. To police something, saying it's our policy, we have always preferred the term procedures. So that's a subtle nuance, but it is important for Jeff to have just the right word. And for him, procedure was the right word. He actually emailed me yesterday about using enroll versus register.
Yes.
Again, words that can be used interchangeably by some, but in his mind, the psychology behind registering is for a one-time event and enrolling is you're part of something bigger. It's a continuous piece. You're part of the family when you enroll to be with us versus registering for an event. So that's kind of where we come from in that sense of always having just the right words. And so Jeff has always used adjustments and increases differently. To us, those are two different things. And I just wanted to be sure that we were all on the same page because we'll use those words. And I want people to know that they're not interchangeable. They're actually two different things to us.
Absolutely.
And so for us, an adjustment is when we are in line with CPI. So it's just in line with the value of that dollar. If we take an adjustment equal to CPI, we're just not sliding backwards. It was not an increase. We really just adjusted to the value of the dollar versus a price increase would be going above that. So sometimes there's a need for that increase. And sometimes there's a need for an adjustment, and knowing when to use each is important and what's right for your business. But I just wanted people to kind of have that background as we use those words to know when we use adjustment and when we use increase. Those are not interchangeable. They're actually different things.
Correct. Yeah.
So do those adjustments and increases happen biannually, or let's talk about that a little bit.
Sure.
Typically they happen once a year. And that doesn't mean that it couldn't happen more frequently if we missed the mark. So if we took, let's say we took a pricing adjustment in line with CPI, but maybe CPI was not quite as accurate as what we're told it is, and we can't continue to do business the way that we do business and operate at a profit. So we would take another one. Post-COVID in 2020, we delayed a price adjustment just because there were so many unknowns. We did not take one that year, but we did catch up in January of the following year. So typically, we've made some changes over the last several years. We used to take a pricing adjustment in September, but that was confusing for some clients, especially our team athletes who committed to a team and now their cost of tuition increased or adjusted over the course of the summer. And it just left some negative feelings. So we've opted to we put our letter out in April for the May billing cycle for June 1st. So classes starting in June are adjusted to the new rate, typically at Kids First. And I think did you do that last year or did you delay it?
We were in the process of searching for a new team coach. So I did not take the team increase in the summer. I took it in August as we had a new DL and people were more confident in the decisions that we were making and not increasing their price without a leader of that program. And the other that we did change it for the team families. I think that was the biggest motivating factor for moving it to June was just not locking them in at a price or not locking them into team. And then this price jumping and then they've bought their Leo, they're locked in for the season. And they're like, well, if I had known it was going to go up, it did. It just kind of left a few with some negative feelings. And so we did that change. And then when people came back in the fall, that price was changed
Adjusted.
just as it was previously, but it had made the change in the summer. And I think for us, kind of a little bit of a pressure release was that we do unlimited classes in the summer. We do bonus classes for, well, as we all know, most of our programmings are down a little bit in the summer. Our gymnastics classes have tons of spots. And so we had been for a few years doing unlimited classes in the summer where you could sign up for an extra class on the day of. And so with that price increase and giving them extra classes in the summer, that also kind of helped ease. It was going to go up a little bit, but you can do as many classes as you want in a week. So that's been helpful for us here with that change. If you're able to do that, that's definitely been a help. Now, and I know that's how we do it. I know some gyms do it in January. Some gyms do it in summer. Some gyms do it in the fall. There's no right or wrong way. We just wanted to share when we do it and why we made that change. But everybody's done it different ways. And if it works, it works.
What advice would you give someone that's maybe not done a price adjustment or an increase or is timid about doing one?
Yeah. Well, number one, they should listen to Jeff talk about pricing at boot camp because
absolutely.
I think even for us at Kids First, when Jen and I both came from running departments before we were in the executive roles that we are. And you always know those families that are going to get priced out. And so as a DL, you're sitting there for us thinking, oh, we're going to take a 6% pricing increase. That's going to take us to X price. And that just seems so expensive or whatever it is. And you know those families that are going to be impacted. But when you hear Jeff talk about it from such sitting in a different chair and how it impacts your business, number one, to not take the increase. Are you going to give your staff increases? Are your utilities going up? All those things. I'm genuinely sometimes amazed when we are in boot camp how many gym club owners haven't taken a price adjustment or an increase in numbers of years. I'm like, how is your business doing? Sure. And we pretty much kind of know. And so I think it's sitting back and looking at how your business is doing. Are you able to function without doing that? And what are the things you want to do? Do you want to pay your staff better? Are there facility improvements that you want to do? You just have to look at it from all the perspectives. And then do you offer a tuition assistance program, which we're going to talk a little bit about, that can help kind of, again, pressure release those increases.
And I think every good business owner in this industry feels that emotional attachment to pricing adjustments. If we could give it for free, we would. We're in the business of doing great things for kids across this industry, not just at Kids First. And we know, like Megan said, that we will price some families out, but the cost of doing business does not go down year over year. And so in order for us to be financially healthy so that we can if an HVAC unit goes out around here and we haven't priced accordingly, we're then scrambling to keep up with where we were just a year ago. So I think it's probably the least favorite of all of my responsibilities at Kids First. And it starts in January when we're thinking about it. And then, the inputting the numbers to see what a 3% looks like or a 5%. And whatnot. And then the letter, and then getting the feedback, because we always get feedback from clients, and most often our clients want to ensure that those pricing adjustments go back to the staff. They want to be sure that the people that are teaching their kids are going to continue to want to be here because they're paid well. And I ran into, at one of the gymnastics meets this year, I ran into a boot camper who was here maybe in May of last year. And he was very nervous. They hadn't had a price adjustment in quite some time. He took a 20% price increase. Sorry, He took a 20% price increase. And he said, not a single drop, record enrollment since then. And he was shocked.
We've heard that story in
multiple
times from gym club owners.
He didn't have a single bit of backlash on it. And I think it just shocked him. And when you talk about right now, CPI is supposedly 3.5%. And I sent a letter to our subcontractors to let them know what we're doing for pricing, asking if they wanted to do any adjustments for their pricing. And one of them responded, when I hear the story that Crumble Cookies taking a 14% increase, I guess a 3.5 doesn't seem so bad. And I think just businesses are feeling it. We are getting squeezed. And so we have to be responsible to our business and our people.
Yeah. And we are a premium price here at Kids First. And we know that is part of our pricing strategy. But I think too, it's when you hear Jeff talk about that your price is often the value that you place on your business. It can be kind of impactful if you're the low price leader. Is that the value? Are you the lowest valued business in the area, or do you have the best facility? Do you have the best instructors? And so should you be on the higher price end?
Right.
And for us, I also think we look at that as we have to uphold that standard. When we are the high price leader or the premium product, we have to be that. We have, and we live that every day, but it's telling those 15 and 16-year-olds that mom and dad are paying this price for you as much as they're paying for Jen to teach the class, or somebody who's been in the business for 25 years. We have to uphold that standard. And that's across the board, from the facility team to the hospitality and the care that we give to the clients, to the classes and the team and the product. But I think it is impactful when you sit back to say, is that how you value your business if you're not the premium leader? Or do you feel like you are the best club around, and so you should price yourself that way?
Great stuff there. All good stuff. So we're talking about pricing. The next big topic, right, is how do we adjust it? How do you know if it's an adjustment or an increase, and how much?
Mm-hmm. Those are good questions. And I think over the last 4 years, we have been at all ends of that. We've been, let's not take one now, let's delay. We've taken 2 in 1 year. I think a lot of that has to do with the demand in a particular department, the industry standards for wages and salaries, and what else is on the horizon for a particular company or a particular program. If you know that you have, if you have salaried employees that are just paid under what the industry standard is, then you might have to look at increasing your tuition rather than an adjustment. For us right now, Megan mentioned that our enrollment in some of our programs is a little softer. So we're being very mindful of what is CPI. Can we afford as a business to adjust at what that CPI is? And if the answer is yes, that's where we'll stay. If it's no, then we have to increase alongside that.
Yeah, I think Jen touched on a lot of the factors that I think we look at, and we look at that demand. What's it been in the last 6 to 12 months? Is the pace picking up or is it slowing down? We've had some programs that have picked up. Some programs are slowing down. And does that factor into different programs getting different adjustments? It could. Those are factors we look at. What upcoming facility needs or capital expenditures does your business have? And that's going to be different for everybody. But it's certainly a factor to consider when you're looking at what your facility is needing or what the upkeep is on a certain facility. We have a 108,000 square foot facility that's 26 years old. we've had to do a lot of different maintenance and upkeep that just hits at that 25-year mark. And so we did take that into consideration last year. Staffing pressures and wages. I know that that's been a topic for boot camps for the last, at least since COVID, the last 3 years, when people started throwing out starting 15-year-olds at $18 an hour. And, it's a factor. We actually put it in our letter last year that I think wages from an hourly perspective, you could correct me if I'm wrong, I think we had increased about 33% over 2 years.
It was 3 years.
And we'd only taken pricing adjustments of about 17%. Yeah. So you almost can't keep up with it, but are you paying attention to it? Are you tuned into it? Because you want to keep that great talent. And I think that's a big piece of the conversation to the client, is that we do want to keep the top teachers. We want to keep your favorite staff. And in order to do that, there's upward pressure on these wages. And we have to know, in order to keep them as a business and to be able to thrive, we have to increase that price. Do you want to have a bonus structure or a profit sharing plan if you don't currently have one? That could be a factor in determining what that increase is. So what's on the horizon for your staffing and your wages? And then I think too, just number one, do you have financial targets and are you hitting them?
Right.
And I think, if your company is able to keep up financially, then an adjustment might be appropriate. If you're, given all the other factors, if you're not as a company where you want to be financially, you need to take a look at that at the time of pricing. And there's other factors, your class ratios, what you're paying everybody, but are you hitting your financial targets? And so that could be a whole other podcast sitting here with Kim. But those are factors that go into if you're adjusting, if you're increasing, and sometimes we do it different for different programs. We oftentimes don't adjust our competitive teams to the level of our classes. We already know that they are the highest priced product in the gym. And they're here the most hours. They're the most dedicated to our facility. They're our biggest advocates. So increasing them 10% would hurt.
It would be painful.
And so, always looking at different programs and how you're going to adjust them. Sometimes you have to play catch up if somebody hasn't taken the increases over the years the same as other programs. All factors that we look at when we're deciding what's an increase, what's an adjustment, and what can the business afford year over year.
Yep.
So everything we've talked about so far has been internal. We've covered exactly what that process looks like. We talked about terminology and when to do it, and then how much to do it. I think the biggest hurdle that some owners could have is, how do we communicate these pricing changes? You want to talk about that?
Sure. And Megan and I are fortunate. We've had the influence of Jeff over, I've been here for 26 years now. Mm-hmm. And from the time I started, he did it through an old-fashioned letter, and now it's in an email format. And our clients have come to learn that it happens at this time of year, especially those team families. So it was funny. I was just looking at some of his old letters, and sometimes he pulls out all of the CPI calculations and includes all the CapEx that we've had for the previous year. And other times he just announces, I'm pleased to announce it's a 3% adjustment. But usually it's just a little bit of an explanation and history behind an adjustment, the fact that it's an adjustment and not an increase, and why, and to just let them know that we hope that we have their support. And we also in there Megan mentioned a tuition assistance program. Anyone who feels that they've been outpriced, we do want to make it affordable for them to attend our classes or our team program. So we do make mention of our tuition assistance program, and they can apply for that. But it's just a once a year email. Mm-hmm. And
yeah, I think I often think of the Jeffism that we have on so many things, that reasonable people given the same information will come to the same conclusion. And I think the key word is reasonable.
Yep.
You're not going to rationalize with the unreasonable folks, and you can all point to who those would be when you send the email. But I think giving the information that's appropriate to help inform their decision and know why they're spending that money with you and what it's going towards. And it could be talking about the CapEx that you've had to spend to keep the building top notch. It could be talking about the staffing pressures that you're facing and what the business has had to do to adjust to that, or whatever is appropriate for your business. But I think being able to communicate that to the client in the most straightforward way possible and kind of letting them understand the decision is the best way. And sometimes that's a long letter. Sometimes that's a short letter. And I think you have to gauge that for your clients. If you haven't done one in a long time, there might be a little more explanation behind it. And hopefully you've built that relationship with the clients that they understand and they want their favorite teachers and they want to support the business. And having that pressure release that if we have priced you out, there isn't an option for you to stay. We want you to be a part of our family at any cost, is also obviously beneficial to our clients.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing all that information. Any final thoughts on this topic of pricing adjustments?
Yeah, have courage. I think that we often second guess ourselves. It's an emotional industry because we're in a relationship building industry. And so we often tend to lean toward making it easier on our clients. First, look at what the business needs are so that you can make it enjoyable for your clients, but have some courage to do the hard things, which would be to take that adjustment and not forego it.
Mm-hmm. I always think of our retired controller, Laura Fuel, who was amazing, who always said, be bold.
Be bold.
Be bold. And I think that was and that's in all things, but be bold in doing what's right for your business, what it takes to keep the people that you couldn't part with. So I think figuring out what that timing is right for you and your business, because it's going to be different for each business. I think figuring out the timing that's right for your business and what that amount is, taking in all the different factors. Is it an adjustment? Is it an increase? Knowing the difference and knowing why you might have to do one versus the other. And then figuring out how it's going to be communicated to your clients. I think if you can take in all of those factors while being bold and having courage and putting the value on your business that your clients put on it and your staff put on it and being that for your community, you'll be heading in the right direction.
Absolutely.
Great.
Yeah.
So thank you for listening to this podcast on pricing adjustments. Please subscribe to the podcast, share it with someone that could benefit from it. You can visit us at metzgerbootcamp.com.